All right, let's be real for a second. You've just finished a marathon of user interviews. You're surrounded by sticky notes, your brain is absolutely fried, and you're basically swimming in a giant pool of chaotic data. Does that sound familiar? Well, that's what we're tackling today. How to turn that total chaos into crystal clear, powerful insights.
You know, this quote just nails a huge misunderstanding about research. Your job isn't over when the last interview ends. Heck no, that's when the real work is just getting started. Think of it this way. The interviews gave you a big lump of clay. Now you have to be the sculptor. You got to find the patterns, connect the dots, and build a story that explains not just what your users are doing, but the deep down why.
I bet this screen feels a little too real for some of you. You've got stacks of notes. One user said they loved a feature, and the next one said it was the worst thing they'd ever seen. It's a perfect recipe for analysis paralysis, right? You just sit there thinking, did I learn anything at all, or did I just waste a whole bunch of time?
I have a name for this feeling. I call it the research hangover. It's that sinking pit in your stomach when you've gathered all this stuff, but you have no clue what to do with it. But don't you worry. There is a cure, and it all starts with a very simple, very important reassurance.
That's it. Seriously. If you feel this way, it doesn't mean you're a bad researcher. It actually means you did something right. You gathered rich, complex, messy, human data. Feeling stuck is a totally normal and expected part of the journey. I remember my first big research project. Oh man, I was so overwhelmed I almost just threw in the towel. But my mentor told me something I'll never forget. The mess is where the magic happens. And you know what? He was absolutely right.
Okay, so how on earth is a mess a good sign? It's because that feeling, that sense of being overwhelmed, is what forces you to dig deeper. It forces you to bust the single biggest myth in all of UX research.
Insights don't just magically appear fully formed while you're chatting with a user. That's not how it works. The interviews, they create the necessary chaos. The real insight is what you build afterward, during a process we call synthesis. Synthesis is just the work of sifting through all that raw data and finding the gold. It's about finding the patterns and building a story that explains what's really going on.
And this right here, this is the core shift in thinking you need to make. A beginner will take their notes and just summarize each interview. You know, user A said this, user B said that. But an expert, they look for the deeper behavioral patterns that cut across all the interviews. It's not about reporting back what people said, it's about synthesizing what they did and what they meant.
So, how do we actually do that? How do we get from that messy pile of notes to something meaningful? Well, you need a plan. You need a playbook that can guide you through the chaos and get you to those aha moments.
And here it is. These 5 steps, this is your path. First, we're going to separate what you actually saw from what you think it means. Then, we'll hunt for repeated behaviors, group together similar pain points, and, this is a big one, we're going to learn to actually love the contradictions in our data. Then finally, we build and test our big idea. This is the process that's going to help you find the signal in all that noise.
Let's break down that first step because it's so important. An observation is the raw fact. It's the what. The user paused for a long time. That's undeniable. You saw it happen. An interpretation is your guess about the why. You think they were confused, but were they? Or maybe their dog started barking or they got a text message. You don't know for sure, so you have to be careful not to treat your interpretation as a fact.
And what happens when one user says they want things super simple, and the next one demands more features? That's not a failure of your research. That's a clue. The trick is to ask why and when. I had a project once where we had this exact problem. It turns out the contradiction wasn't a problem at all. It was the key that showed us we were trying to serve 2 totally different types of users with one design. Those messy spots, that's where the best insights love to hide.
So let's say we've done the work. We followed the playbook. We wrestled with all that messy data. What's the payoff? What does a really good, powerful, finished insight actually look like?
See, an insight isn't just a fact. It's the connective tissue. It's the story that explains the why behind the what. It links a person's behavior to their core motivation, and that's what gives your team a clear direction. A good insight is like a compass. It doesn't draw the map for you, but it points you exactly where you need to go.
Let's make this super clear. Users are confused is not an insight. It's a dead end. What do you do with that? But users hesitate because they fear making irreversible mistakes. Now that is a lightning bolt. Your brain immediately starts buzzing with ideas, right? We need better confirmation screens. We need a clear undo button. We need reassuring language. It's powerful because it's actionable. Here's a fantastic real-world example. This insight doesn't just say people don't like big menus. It tells you why. Because they're hungry. Their main motivation is speed. That instantly tells a designer to focus on features like reorder your last meal or showing top picks right away. I mean, think about it. When you're starving, the last thing you want is to scroll through 100 different options. You just want food fast.
And this isn't just about getting a burrito. That exact same pattern, fear and the need for reassurance, shows up in a totally different world, finance. When you're moving money around, that fear of an irreversible mistake is 1,000 times stronger. This insight explains why people double and triple check everything. It tells the design team to build in reassurance at every step, add some rescreens, use clear labels, give visual confirmation. It's all about building trust.
All right, let's bring this all home. This whole process, slogging through messy notes, hunting for patterns, even learning to love contradictions, it's not just a chore you have to get through. It is, and I mean this, the single most valuable skill you can have in this field. It is your new superpower.
If you remember one thing from all of this, please let it be this. The next time you feel that research hangover, don't panic. Take a deep breath and smile. Because it means you have the rich, raw material you need to discover something truly important. It means you're right on the edge of a breakthrough.
Now here's the other side of that coin. If you finish your research and all your takeaways feel kind of simple, kind of obvious, be suspicious. You've probably just summarized what you heard instead of digging for that deeper truth. It's like going to the gym for a great workout and then skipping the protein shake. You did some of the work, but you're not going to get the real results. The best insights are always earned. They're never just found.
So the next time you're staring down a mountain of chaotic research data, don't see it as a problem to be solved. See it as a puzzle to be unlocked. Lean into that complexity, follow the playbook, and just ask yourself, what incredible, messy, beautiful truth is my data waiting to tell me?